me. This is my third year with the Women's Panel, my second year moderating. Excited to be back. A little bit about myself. I work with a lot of visionaries, and as we know, visionaries come up with great ideas, but they always need somebody to execute, and that's where I come in and help them bring their ideas to life. So I work in several industries, fairly different, nonprofit. I'm also in food and beverage as well as healthcare. Most of my background is in healthcare. Many may not know because I don't talk about it very often. I like to talk about the fun stuff like food. All right, so we have some great speakers here today, and rather than have me introduce them and reading their bio, I am going to let them introduce themselves. We have Christine Kinsunji, who is over 25 years in the hotel industry. She is the Director of Sales and Catering at Great Wolf Lodge, therefore the little ears. Then we have Bonnie Panlasigui, and she is a healthcare management professional, president of Summa Health Systems Hospital in Ohio. So she'll be making the move there very soon, so we'll hear about that. And we have Susanna Tessero Choi with Tessero Choi and Associates, and her firm specializes in community outreach and public affairs. Christine, let's start with you. If you can share a little bit, well, we'll have all three of you share what you do professionally and what led you to this career path.
All right, so I'm going to share my journey in 1 minute. So start your timers. All right, I started at Jollibee. For the people that doesn't know, it's like McDonald's. So I worked there as a cashier for front desk. I learned to hone my listening skills, learned my patience, and there is always something to do. Things I learned in Jollibee. I always share that with everybody. I knew I was going to be in the hospitality industry when I was 8 years old because my dad worked in the hospitality industry, took me to his hotel, very beautiful hotel. I said, I'm going to work here. And sure enough, I took hotel and restaurant management in college and the university back home in the Philippines. Then I worked at this hotel called Shangri-La, and it's a big hotel back home as well too. I applied for front desk, did not have any front desk positions. I said, I will take any job that you have. They have a waitress position open, and ever since then, I've been dreaming of folding napkins and polishing silverware for the rest of my life. But because of that, I did some connect working, which is, I actually I always serve our Director of Food and Beverage, Director of HR, and Director of Guest Service or Front Desk. HR, Front Desk, and Food and Beverage. Okay, so all of three of them are actually best friends, so they always stand at our restaurant. I always say them, and the Director of Guest Services has a super long name, and I always greet him with this long name. Hello, Mr. Katerevelu. Welcome to the Paparazzi restaurant. And since then, he did not forget me. 4 months into the job, he actually transferred me to my position, front desk, but even better, I got transferred to the VIP front desk. I only handled VIP people. For 30 seconds. And having said that, I moved here in the United States in 2002. I actually took a job in a hotel. My first position was VP, various positions, where I actually worked as housekeeping, front desk, housekeeping, banquet servers, anything you can think of in a hotel. But the good thing about it is I learned the operations of the hotel, and I learned the in and out. That actually made me who I am right now. I'm in the sales department. I work in all the Hilton, the Marriotts, and every franchise that you can think of. And also, the good thing about it is I work in Orlando, Arizona, San Francisco, and all of that. And currently now working at the Great Wolf Lodge in Garden Grove, and that's
Do
me.
you work as fast as you talk? All right, Bonnie.
Yeah, I might have a little bit of a different pace here. Can you guys hear me all right? All right.
Yes.
Okay. So most recently, I served as Chief Operating Officer for St. Mary Medical Center in Long Beach. I've been there for the last 5 years. And so, as Linda said, I just recently accepted a role as president of Summa Health System Hospitals, overseeing 3 hospitals, over 1,000 beds, about almost 6,000 employees, and 1.2 billion in net revenue. And so it's pretty exciting. So my family and I will be making the move across the country for this wonderful opportunity. But when I tried to explain to my mother, my Korean mother, what do I do? Because in healthcare, she thinks, well, there's doctors and nurses. And so she said, what is a hospital administrator? And I finally told her, you know, I think I can tell you. I tell the doctors what to do. And she said, oh, that's really good. and I don't really tell them what to do, but I make them think that they're the ones that came up with the ideas. But I'm really the one behind the scenes pushing them along with the strategic plan. So I see it as a partnership with the doctors. But in actuality, the way I started my career, I was just 19 years old. I was a sophomore in undergrad when I was at USC. And I was doing an internship in the lab at a hospital at Glendale Memorial. And I was bored out of my mind. And I walked down the hall and I see administration. And I walked in there and I said, what are you guys doing here? And the COO at the time heard me and he kind of laughed and said, well, you're welcome to shadow me and kind of see what this is about. And so I had the chance to really have my eyes open to see that hospitals are like miniature cities. There are so many different specialties that all contribute to the patients. And when you said food services, that's one of my favorite departments in the hospital. But it's really something that grew and sparked a passion inside of me to really pursue a career, to be a hospital executive, and to one day be a CEO and a president. So this is a great moment in my career to be able to say I can do this. But I think looking back, there are people who made a difference in our lives, and it was that one COO who really took his time to say, let me show you around. He knew the employees on a first name basis. He really sincerely cared about the employees, wrote handwritten thank you cards. And I told myself that's the kind of leader I want to be. And so yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Congratulations on the new role. Suzanne?
Hey, I was born at her hospital. Is this working? Okay. A million years ago, right? So I come from a very multicultural family. My father is an American of Japanese descent. My mother is Native American. My sister is Black, and I married a Korean. So I found out that my father was interned during World War II because he was an American who happened to be of Japanese descent, and it devastated their family. So when I found that out, I decided to dedicate my life to empowering communities of color so that would never ever happen to anybody else's family or themselves. So sweet. And so the way I got involved was politically first, and I ended up working for the first President Bush in the White House. And my favorite thing was helping communities of color. Then I moved to California to work for Governor Pete Wilson. And then I started my firm when he got termed out after 8 years. All my friends ended up hiring me. Nobody had ever heard of multicultural marketing back then. So I just was strategically positioning my clients with multicultural markets to increase the client's revenue and client base. So that's what I've been doing ever since, so thank you. I like to say I'm a matchmaker, but not between men and women, between companies and leaders.
She definitely is a matchmaker because when you meet her at a networking event, she's like, Anya, you need to meet this person. Well, okay, I'll run over there. No, you need to run back over here. You need to meet this person. So you definitely are a matchmaker. Let's go back a little. What did you want to do before you got into this line of work? I'll start. I was in the fashion industry. It was my dream to work in entertainment. I had the opportunity to do that. And then my mother, who was so disappointed, like, what do you do? You dress people for a living? She didn't know any of the celebrities I worked with. And then, that guilt in the back of my mind, I decided to try to give corporate life a try. I worked in government. I worked for child support services. And then I went into healthcare, which was a bulk of my career in provider relations. And as Bonnie mentioned, when our family thinks of healthcare and medical, they think doctors, nurses. But I was in provider relations, and I loved being able just to be in the field every single day, just meeting with doctors, and all I had to do was bring lunch to their staff and make them happy and resolve any issues they had. And didn't know that was a career without being a doctor, being a nurse. So that was a bulk of my career. Then I got into food and beverage. Then I got into nonprofit. Currently just finished building the Dalai Lama Library and Learning Center for His Holiness. Thank you. That will be in Ithaca, New York. And during the pandemic, I was furloughed because my job was to be in the field. But luckily, I had an opportunity to start 360 Clinic, and we were the largest COVID testing provider at Anaheim Convention Center, OC Fairgrounds. And then now I'm back in food and beverage. For anybody who knows Ed Lee with Wahoo's Fish Tacos, he's a partner of mine, and we're going to be launching an endeavor soon. Yeah, but that's, our career path is not always linear. So that's why I want to hear, what was your dream before that?
I actually wanted to be a fashion model when I was 3 years old. And enough of that.
So I really wanted to play, I still play the violin just a little bit for fun on the side, but I wanted to play the violin for Disney for their soundtracks and be on the orchestra behind the scenes. I didn't get as good of a music gene as my brother, Andrew, who's standing in the back. You guys got an amazing performance from him this morning. So proud of him, and he's an amazing artist.
Okay, don't laugh. I wanted to be a missionary and a singer, and I love karaoke. And I think I'm pretty good, but it didn't work out too well.
Well, as you can see, it's not a linear path to success. But I'm sure there's still that passion inside of us, and we have interests outside of it. All right, let's talk about any obstacles that you faced, any challenges, obstacles, any lessons along the way.
For me, actually my English is really bad. So I think my grammar is one of my biggest obstacles. But I came to find out that it's also my biggest endearment of all the people that I meet. Because even though I'm talking to them, they can understand me, but they feel but I guess I'm very relatable when people talk to me, even though I have this bad grammar. So I just continued with it. I didn't feel insecure about it anymore, and I just pursued it and tell people, even though sometimes I can already talk a little bit better, depending on who I'm talking with, I still kind of put my Filipino accent in there, here and there. But I guess at the end of it all, it's just be true to who you are, I guess. So that's one of my biggest obstacles, definitely.
I think, there's a quote that says, people don't become champions in the ring, they're simply recognized there. And I think there's a lot of truth to that quote, because there's a lot of behind the scenes works and a lot of mistakes that we make along the way. One thing that I thought about in sharing with you today are 3 mistakes that I made in my career. Because I think when you see people on a panel, you think, oh, they must have this perfect career, but it's not the case. And I've made some mistakes along the way, and I've learned from them. And one of them was very early in my career. There was a CEO who made a decision that I didn't agree with. And I was just an associate administrator at the time. And he wanted to terminate one of the directors, and he was one of my favorite ones. And I thought, oh no, he's so good. And so rather than talking behind the doors, about my opinion, after the fact, I asked some of the other directors, hey guys, what do you think if we can maybe convince the CEO to change his mind? So that was a crucial mistake. And I ended up losing my job. I know it was a big consequence, but it was because I had to learn the lesson of loyalty. And it's important as a senior team, you want to have each other's backs. And you can never have that kind of disagreement out in the open. You've got to be on the same team with your same page with your team. The second mistake I made was I had a hard time getting along with a chief nursing officer at one time. And she was just one of those kind of people where she just would get under my skin. And I just tried my hardest to tolerate and be patient. It was just really difficult. But in the end, she wasn't the one that ended up leaving, I was. So I think the lesson from that is collaborate. no matter what, even if the person is hard to get along with, make the extra effort just to try to see the best in them. And then the last one is when I was running a hospital up in Northern California. I was so excited because this was my hospital. This was Alameda Hospital. We were on a little island on the coast of East Bay area by Oakland. And the system made a decision that I thought wasn't the smartest. And so I thought, oh, come on. I was rallying, with my community, the doctors that worked at my hospital, and I didn't understand the concept of systemness. And I think now more than ever before, companies are merging, they're coming together, and it's more crucial and more important to be able to have the system mentality and not just for your own organization. In fact, that's how my position was created in Ohio, was because they eliminated the 3 CEOs and said, we want to have one leader over those 3 because there's too much silo going on and there's not enough system thinking. So those were some of the lessons that I learned along the way.
Thanks for sharing, Susanna.
I literally, and this is a true story unfortunately, got on the top of a ladder thinking I could paint a wall, fell off of it, broke my foot, ended up having about 20 different surgeries, developed something called the suicide disease, which is complex regional pain syndrome, where your body is on fire all the time. I could not walk for years. I was in a hospital bed for years. I had to hire caretakers for myself and my family. And then after a lot of different kinds of therapy, I learned that the brain was neuroplastic and you could heal your sympathetic nervous system. So I learned to walk again after many years. I had lost my business, I had lost my family, I'd lost everything. And after several years of great friends like Jeannie Spinner Lamar, I got better and built my business back and built my family and got better.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing. One of my obstacles is I'm 4 feet 8. 4 feet 8, and so I often get people who think I'm cute, but I bite. I do, my words do sting a little. A couple of months ago, I had a male ask me for a hug after a meeting. So I tapped him on his back, like, good for you. Then I walked off. He reached out to me, and I didn't respond. And he kept reaching out to me, and then told me I was unprofessional. And then I told him it was unprofessional for him to ask me for a hug in front of everybody. Like literally spread his arms out and it demanded a hug. And I told him that he's somebody I don't want to work with. And he was an elected city official. And I come across this quite often because I am petite in nature, I'm petite. And I would say that would be an obstacle of mine that I continually experience. And how do I overcome it? It's just, like I said, my words sting. Yes?
When you said something that triggered a memory for me, so I've been known to be called the Velvet Hammer, and it's because I have a soft voice, but like you said, you gotta be firm with your word. But you said the word sting, and it's interesting because I remember some things where I started at a hospital one time, and I was probably much thinner, but these nurses, they stood, fellow females, and they said, what is she gonna do, just stand there and look pretty? And that really hurt, and that made me so angry inside, and I made it a point to prove to them that I was business, and I knew what I was doing. And it's interesting because you can get that kind of response from even fellow females. And then also, you reminded me of, when I was interviewing for a CEO role, and I made the mistake of, talking about my family. And I thought, what's the harm in that, right? And I said, oh, my daughter's about to graduate kindergarten. And the first question that came from one of the board members was, don't you think having a young child at home, do you really think you can handle the workload of this job? And that really hurt, and I was very angry inside. And then I felt like saying, well, okay, if that's the case, then what else do you want to know? My other illegal type of questions, that's totally inappropriate. And then another one is actually in the health system I'm going to, a physician panel. Two doctors looked at each other when they saw me walk in the room, and they said, really? And rolled their eyes. As if like she's the candidate. And then one of the doctors proceeded to say, why don't you just make a lateral move? Why do you have to move up to a president, CEO role? Why? And so you're gonna get that kind of pushback, but and as a female. But
Thanks for sharing that, because that is the reality of the type of things that we face. Susanna, Christine, do you want to add to that? Any issues that you have faced?
I think if I may add, because I work in sales, right? And whether I like it or not, sales comes with a lot of dining and whining and, drinking, not that I'm complaining. But, in the end of it all, there are some people that when they get to be too casual, they get to go overboard, and I think it's just a matter of how you talk to them and set your boundaries in regards during that time. And they will apologize the next day or not, but they're not on their Christmas list. But then again, so it is one of the challenges that I would say that the female, especially the women, face nowadays. So.
30 years ago when I got started in politics and government, I was the only little half Asian woman in a room of all white men. But I tried to use that to my advantage because whatever I did stuck out and they remembered me. So if I worked really, really hard and was just as smart as all of them, I got promoted faster because I was so odd looking back then. So I always try to use my challenges to inspire others and give back.
You definitely do stand out in a room. You're always so bubbly and happy, and you light up the room. All right, let's talk about some of our highlights in our career. For me, it's the people I meet. It's opportunities like this to sit on a panel with successful, accomplished women. About 7 years ago, those who do know me a little more, I lost everything. I lost my business. Susanna knows, Jay back there knows. It was a rough time in my life. And I took that as an opportunity to just keep running. I kept striving forward. I didn't allow it to, it tore me apart as I was dealing with things in the background, but that was the highlight. It was meeting all of you. So if you want to share your highlights in your career.
Sure, I do have to, on a side note, during the time that Linda was going through this, you could never tell that she was going through all that. She was still amazing, she was still helping the community, she was just everywhere, and she was helping us. So Linda, how you did that, amazing.
Yes.
So for us, maybe the memorable highlights of my career has always been the people that I work with, and of course, and like what Linda said, right? So it's making a difference in the community. So I have the opportunity in this role, or the roles that I might have had, is being able to help make a difference in whether a nonprofit board that I'm serving, or something as simple as inspiring a youth by being, like a mentor. So those small things and big things that we do for everybody else is one of them, definitely the most memorable highlights. I have a lot to mention, I just don't have the time. But one thing that I would tell you though, if there's anything, I am very proud to announce that just this month, I have 3 team members in my department. One was what we call Employee of the Month for March. One was Employee of the Month for April, and then the other one just became a board director for our prestigious organizations for MPI International. So those are definitely one of the memorable highlights of my career.
Congratulations.
Being able to, have these people on my team.
When I think about some things that are memorable, when one highlight was when an employee, she worked in housekeeping I was in the ER rounding, and she came up to me and she said, "Bonnie, I'd like to follow you." And I was kind of surprised, asked her what she meant by that, and she said, I mean that if you were to go to any other organization, I would want to follow you there. And I was really touched by that because she didn't see me for my title or for my education. She simply saw me as somebody who sincerely cared about her, because she said, "You come to the areas of the hospital, you check up on us, you ask how we're doing, and I can tell you really care about us." And I actually had to hold back the tears when I walked back to my office because it was a moment where I told myself, I don't ever want to change who I am as a leader. And I think it's important that as we grow in our careers, that we can always relate to the frontline team. I'm kind of going a little bit into the next question a little bit, but if there's a CEO, he wrote a book called The Frontline Leader. And if you haven't had a chance to read it, it's a really good book. He was a former police officer, and he was injured pretty badly to where he couldn't continue as a police officer. But he ended up going into healthcare, and he became a security officer, and he was in the basement of the hospital working the night shift. The CEO happened to be walking down the hall, and the CEO completely just walked right past him as if he didn't exist. And he told himself, I will never be that kind of leader if I get a chance to be a CEO. And he ended up becoming CEO. He's currently Chris Van Gorder, CEO of Scripps Healthcare in San Diego. And his whole book, The Frontline Leader, is about relating to the frontline team, giving them the recognition, talking to those people who are not in management positions, making sure that they feel appreciated. Because at the end of the day, it's not us who are doing all the work, it's them. They're the ones taking care of the patients every day. And they're the ones that have the best ideas. And so that's kind of something that was a highlight of my career.
What inspires me is a couple of different things. My amazing clients, City of Hope is going to cure cancer one day, and they're on their way. Irvine Ranch Water District, the best water district in the whole country. Be Well, who is making Orange County the happiest place on earth. The other thing is you want to shine a light on the people that are, the real heroes, but they're the unsung heroes. So I get to do that. I get to shout out and shine a light and hopefully bring funds to wonderful organizations like the Asian Business Association, the Black Chamber, just be their voice and help them. And then the other thing is you want your staff and your people to always do better than you did. So I have a former assistant about 25 years ago who became the treasurer of the United States, Rosario Moren, and then Chris Lowe became mayor of Brea for many years. So that's what inspires me.
On the topic of inspiration, and let's talk about philanthropy and community giving in the community. Many know that it's been the highlight of my life, and I found a circle that I can lean on and be vulnerable with. And if you can share your highlights of serving on different boards and just in general.
So I serve different kinds of boards. One for my industry, right? I serve as a board, so we have a different platform in regards with community giving, and then I serve at a different organization. But I'd like to talk about this other organization that I am an admin of. It's actually a very simple Facebook group that was made during the pandemic. This was made because a lot of people got laid off. It's an all Filipino group, 60,000 strong, 41,000 active. So, but this group actually was made because a lot of people started selling homemade food. So it is a great opportunity for these people to actually, they made homemade food. They will say, okay, we're at the parking lot of Home Depot. Meet us at 4 o'clock p.m. on Saturday. And we have all these kinds of food, right? And it was just wonderful. This community came and supported. It started with 5 trunk carts, 5. And then now they actually have expos at the West Covina Sports Complex. There's 100 of them in there. doing this already. So they have served, not only did this, some of these people actually did not return to their jobs. They actually continued to do this business and became entrepreneurs and business owners. Some of them even opened their own restaurants because their food was just amazing. So I think this part of the group that we made, it was very simple. It was nothing like a nonprofit that we have to submit anything for. It was just a simple Facebook group. And all the community rallied together to help these people. So now this Facebook group not only, of course, advertises the food, it also advertises business owners because we want to support you. It also advertises jobs. And the best part is it's also advertising anything that would benefit the community. Something about grants or, like bank grants, or definitely if some information dissemination that needs to be put out there, this group is helping them at all. So when you're thinking of community giving or philanthropy or anything like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be nonprofit. It doesn't. It's free. You can do it yourself. It's called social media for good. So you are free to do whatever you want to do. All you have to do is like that page, make a review or anything like that, and that totally helps that business. So that's mine.
I'm honored to serve as Regent at Large for District 5 for the American College of Healthcare Executives, and it is a role where I cover the 12 West Coast states, and I help support those ACG chapters in their initiatives around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's something that it's been an honor to be able to serve in that role over the past 3 years. And then also, back in the time when I started my career, I was able to help form Asian Healthcare Leaders Association. And a person who was very influential and has been a mentor of mine for many, many years now, over 20 years, he was with me in Washington, D.C. when I was standing in the back of the room at a conference, the American Hospital Association conference. And he walked up to me, he didn't even know me, and he said, "Look at all these salt and pepper heads." And then he said, "There's not many that look like you, right?" And then I said, "Yeah," and I said, "There's no Asians, hardly any at all." And then, so then he said, "Well, what are you gonna do about it?" And then that's when he got me in touch with some key influential leaders and people who had been established in the field already. And at that time, 20 years ago, there were only a handful, you could count on 2 hands, of Asian CEOs in the healthcare industry. So he got me in touch with those people, and we created the Asian Healthcare Leaders Association, which is now under the umbrella of ACG. So it's fun to be involved in those types of things and being able to help grow the profession in our industry and help people grow in their careers.
Mother Teresa always would say when she was alive that you can either curse the darkness or light a candle. And I think it's so important that all of us do whatever we can, even if that just means voting. I think that's so important. My favorite thing to do is to get to help good people get elected, and the policies they make affects everyone. So I just, again, can't say enough how important voting is, and I'm so thankful for Stephanie being here, the head of the new Association of Orange County. So just meet her.
Thank you, ladies. All right, so we are running out of time, and we don't have time for Q&A, but if there's anything you would like to ask, you're welcome to catch us on the way down. We would love to hear if there was something that inspired you that we said. We would love to hear it. But before we end, I have one quick question. What do you enjoy outside of work? What are your interests? What are your hobbies? Let's make it quick because we have to wrap it up. For me, it's 80s music. Christina and I learned to line dance this weekend. So it's 80s music, and we just learned to line dance.
I don't know about learn, but we're definitely line dance. Outside of work, I like gardening. I like cooking for my husband, and then also taking care of. And I'm a Converse shoe collector, so that's me.
Not just Converse, she collects a lot of shoes.
I stick to my shoes that I like, and I wear it down till they fall apart. I enjoy spending time with my family, my husband and daughter, and there were many years where I didn't think I could have children. So I feel very honored and blessed to be able to even be a parent. So that's something I enjoy outside of work.
I have a horse, and I love horseback riding.
Once again, thank you very much to our Inspirational Women Panel. So we're going to big round of applause again for them.